I never expected a letter from a dead relative to change everything. But that's exactly what happened on the same day I discovered my husband's betrayal. The irony wasn't lost on me, one hand giving while the other took away. My name is Jessa, and until last Tuesday, I thought I had my life figured out. Career-focused financial analyst by day, supportive wife by night. It wasn't perfect, but it was mine. Then I found the bank notification on my phone while grabbing coffee between meetings. Withdrawal, $15,000, transaction approved. I nearly dropped my phone. Nate and I had agreed never to make large withdrawals without discussing it first. My hands shook as I called him, but it went straight to voicemail. 3 times. Mrs. Hartley? The receptionist's voice pulled me from my spiral. This just arrived for you by courier. Requires immediate signature. The envelope was thick, cream-colored, with a law firm's letterhead I didn't recognize. Inside was a letter that started with words I had to read twice. We regret to inform you of the passing of your great-uncle, Henry Whitmore. I barely remembered Uncle Henry. He was my grandmother's eccentric brother who lived in an old Victorian house by the coast, writing books nobody read. I'd met him maybe twice as a child, but apparently that was enough for him to leave me his entire estate. My phone buzzed. Nate, finally. Hey, babe. Sorry I missed your calls. Been in meetings all day. $15,000, Nate? Were you planning to tell me? The pause was too long. I was going to talk to you about it tonight. Mom needs help with some repairs on her house, and… Your mother? Again? The pieces clicked into place, the secretive phone calls, the weekend visits to his mom's. His defensive behavior whenever I brought up our finances. Look, she's family. What was I supposed to do? Maybe discuss it with your wife first? It's our money, Nate. Both of ours. Like you discuss every bonus you get? His voice turned sharp. Besides, you're always too busy with work to talk about anything important. I clutched Uncle Henry's letter tighter, suddenly grateful for its weight in my hand. We need to talk about this properly. Tonight. Can't. Promised Mom I'd help her with something. Tomorrow? The dismissal in his voice made my decision easier. Sure. Tomorrow. I hung up before he could hear the tremor in my voice. Looking down at the letter again, I realized Uncle Henry's timing couldn't have been better. Maybe his final gift wasn't just the estate, maybe it was the push I needed to see what had been right in front of me all along. The Parker family dinner was exactly as tense as I expected. Carol's house always felt like a shrine to traditional family values. With its walls covered in perfectly arranged photos of Nate and Lindsay growing up. None of my wedding photos made the cut, of course. More potatoes, dear? Carol's smile didn't reach her eyes as she passed the bowl. You're looking a bit thin. All those long hours at work, I suppose? I forced a polite smile. I'm good, thanks. Under the table, my hand clutched my phone, the lawyer's email about Uncle Henry's estate still unread. I hadn't told anyone yet, not even Nate. Did you tell Jessa about the roof? Carol turned to Nate, who suddenly became very interested in his plate. The roof? I asked, though I already knew where this was going, $15,000 worth of knowing. Lindsay jumped in, her voice overly cheerful. Mom's house needs some repairs. Nate's been so helpful, organizing everything. Has he? I met Nate's eyes across the table. He looked away first. Carol continued as if she hadn't noticed the tension. It's what family does. We take care of each other. Though I suppose that's hard to understand when you're so focused on your career. Mom, Nate finally spoke up, but his tone was more pleading than defensive. What? I'm just saying it's different in our family. We prioritize each other. Carol reached over and patted Nate's hand. Not everyone understands that. I set my fork down, the clinking sound too loud in the sudden silence. I understand family perfectly well, Carol. I also understand boundaries and respect, especially when it comes to shared finances. Lindsay's eyes widened. Nate's jaw tightened. Well, Carol's voice turned sharp. Sometimes we have to step up when others won't. Nate knows his responsibilities. His responsibilities to you, or to his marriage? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Nate pushed his chair back. I need some air. I watched him walk out, Carol's triumphant expression reflecting in the window behind him. My phone buzzed, another email from the lawyer about Uncle Henry's estate. Leaving my barely touched dinner. I have a work call. As I stepped onto the front porch, I heard Lindsay's voice through the open window. Mom, maybe you should ease up a little. Nonsense. Someone needs to help Nate stand up for himself. That woman's ambition is destroying him. I looked at my phone, finally opening the email about my inheritance. The estimated value made my breath catch. Suddenly, Carol's house, with all its suffocating expectations, felt very small indeed. Behind me, the door opened. Nate. We should talk about this at home, he said quietly. Yes, I agreed, thinking of Uncle Henry's letter. We really should. The text message from Lindsay came while I was reviewing Uncle Henry's estate paperwork. Can we meet for coffee? Just us? I hadn't expected my sister-in-law to reach out, especially after the disaster at Carol's. But here I was, sitting across from her at a quiet cafe, watching her fidget with her cup. I need to tell you something, Lindsay said, her voice barely above a whisper. About Nate. My stomach tightened. What about him? He's been different lately. Coming over almost every day, talking about starting a business with Mom's help. She paused, studying my reaction. Using your money. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. My money? He knows about the inheritance, Jessa. Mom found the letter in your coat pocket at dinner. Lindsay's eyes filled with guilt. They've been planning things. I set my cup down carefully, afraid I might break it otherwise. What kinds of things? Mom's convinced him he deserves half of everything you get. She's been introducing him to her investment friends, talking about property developments. Lindsay twisted her napkin. I heard them discussing lawyers. The cafe suddenly felt too small, too warm. How long has this been going on? Since before he took the money for Mom's roof. She reached for my hand. There was never any roof repair, Jessa. My phone buzzed, another message from Nate. Where are you? We need to talk about our future. Our future. The phrase hit differently now. There's more, Lindsay continued, her voice shaking. Mom's been pushing him to make sure his name is on any paperwork about the inheritance. She says it's what a good wife would want. I thought about the unsigned documents in my bag, the ones that would transfer Uncle Henry's estate into my name. Just my name. Why are you telling me this? I asked, though I already knew. Because I watched Mom do the same thing to Dad before he left. She convinced him he was worthless without her support, then took everything when he was at his lowest. Lindsay's eyes met mine. I can't watch it happen again. My phone buzzed once more. This time, it was my lawyer, documents ready for signing. Shall we proceed as discussed? Looking at Lindsay's worried face, I made my decision. Thank you for telling me. What are you going to do? I stood up, gathering my things. I'm going to do what Uncle Henry did, choose my own path. As I walked out, my phone lit up with another message from Nate. Mom's excited about our plans for the estate. Can't wait to tell you everything. I smiled, thinking of the unsigned papers in my bag. Some secrets were worth keeping, at least for now. The migraine hit me halfway through my presentation at work. Numbers blurred on the screen as whispers from the conference room merged with memories of Lindsay's revelations. I barely made it through, excusing myself as soon as I finished. In the bathroom, splashing cold water on my face, my phone lit up with Nate's message, "Dinner with Mom tonight." She has exciting news about investment opportunities. My hands trembled as I texted back, "Can't. Deadline at work." Again? This is important, Jessa. It's about our future. Our future. The phrase made my stomach turn. Back at my desk, an email from Uncle Henry's lawyer caught my urgent property inspection scheduled for tomorrow. Presence required. I hadn't told Nate about the inspection. Just like he hadn't told me about his daily visits to Carol's or their plans for my inheritance. Everything okay? My colleague Sarah appeared at my cubicle. You look pale. Just tired, I managed, but she wasn't buying it. Listen, she lowered her voice. I wasn't going to say anything, but I saw Nate yesterday. At Riverside Plaza, having lunch with some suits. He was showing them papers, looking pretty pleased with himself. My heart stopped. Riverside Plaza housed several law firms, including one specializing in divorce and asset division. What time was this? Around noon? He said he was meeting your financial advisor about some inheritance thing. Sarah hesitated. I thought you'd be there too. We didn't have a financial advisor. My phone buzzed again. Carol this time, darling, we simply must discuss the estate. Nate's found some wonderful opportunities. Don't let your career stand in the way of family. The migraine pulsed harder. I opened my drawer, reaching for aspirin, when my fingers brushed against Uncle Henry's original letter. I'd forgotten I'd stored it there. Something made me unfold it again, scanning until I found the line I'd overlooked before. Remember, dear Jessa. Sometimes the greatest act of self-love is choosing your own path, even when others try to direct your steps. My phone lit up with another message from Nate, made dinner reservations for tomorrow. Time to discuss our plans for the estate. I looked at the lawyer's email again, then at Henry's letter. The migraine began to fade as clarity set in. Sarah, I called out, can you cover for me tomorrow? I need to inspect a house. Sure, but... And do you know any good divorce lawyers? Her eyes widened, but she just nodded and started writing down a number. Sometimes choosing your own path means walking away from the one others have planned for you. Uncle Henry's Victorian house loomed before me, its weathered facade hiding secrets I wasn't prepared for. The lawyer, Mr. Bennett, unlocked the front door, revealing rooms filled with dusty furniture and floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. There's something else you should see, he said, leading me to Henry's study. We found these while cataloging his belongings. A stack of manuscripts sat on the antique desk, their pages yellow with age. The top one bore a title in Henry's careful handwriting, The Price of Silence, A Family's Betrayal. He wrote about the family? My fingers traced the words. More specifically, about your grandmother's family. And Carol Parker's involvement in their falling out. Mr. Bennett handed me a sealed envelope. He left this for you too. Said it would explain everything. My phone buzzed. Nate again, where are you? Mom's lawyer wants to discuss the estate planning. I ignored it, opening Henry's letter instead. The first lines made my blood run cold. Dearest Jessa. By now Carol Parker has likely shown her true colors. History repeats itself, she did the same to your grandmother. Manipulating the family fortune through her first marriage before setting her sights on the Parkers. A noise downstairs interrupted my reading. Footsteps. Hello? A familiar voice called out. Jessa? Nate. I quickly folded the letter, shoving it into my pocket. Mr. Bennett, is there a back entrance? He nodded, understanding in his eyes. Through the kitchen. Jessa? Nate's voice grew closer. Mom's lawyer is with me. We need to talk about our plans for this place. I grabbed the manuscript from the desk. How did he know I was here? Your mother-in-law called the office this morning, Mr. Bennett whispered. I'm sorry, I didn't realize. It's fine. I clutched the manuscript tighter. Can you stall them? I need time to read this. He nodded, heading toward Nate's voice, while I slipped toward the kitchen. Through the window, I saw Carol's car pulling up. My phone lit up with Lindsay's warning, Mom's bringing paperwork. Don't sign anything. As I ducked out the back door, I heard Carol's voice drift through an open window. This old place needs so much work. Good thing we're here to preserve Henry's legacy properly. I thought of the manuscript in my hands, of Henry's unread letter in my pocket. Some legacies weren't meant to be preserved, they were meant to expose the truth. From the safety of my car, I opened Henry's manuscript and began to read, knowing my next move would change everything. I sat in our darkened living room, Henry's manuscript open on my lap, waiting. The front door clicked open at exactly 11:43 p.m. Nate froze when he saw me. You missed dinner, he said, shrugging off his jacket. Mom was disappointed. I read Henry's manuscript today. My voice sounded strange, even to me. Interesting story about how Carol manipulated her way into the Parker family fortune. History does repeat itself, doesn't it? He stepped closer, his face hardening. What are you talking about? Your mother's first husband? The one whose family she bankrupted before meeting your father? I held up the manuscript. Henry wrote everything down. That's ancient history, Nate snapped. And probably lies. Like the lies about your mother's roof repairs? Or the lies about meeting divorce lawyers at Riverside Plaza? The color drained from his face. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. I stood up, manuscript clutched to my chest. You and Carol planned to take control of Henry's estate. Just like she did with her first husband's family. We were trying to protect you. He reached for the manuscript. I stepped back. You're too focused on your career to manage this properly. Mom knows what's best. For who, Nate? You? Her? My laugh sounded hollow. Did you even read the paperwork your lawyer prepared? The one that would give you power of attorney over all my assets? His silence was answer enough. I trusted you. My voice cracked. I supported you when you lost your job, when you said you needed time to figure things out. All while you and Carol plotted. Don't act so innocent, he snarled. You've always looked down on us. Your fancy job, your independence. Mom was right, you never understood what family means. Family doesn't steal from each other, Nate. No? He pulled out his phone, showed me an email. Then explain this message to your lawyer about transferring the estate solely into your name. Behind my back. My heart stopped. How did you? Mom has friends everywhere, Jessa. Did you really think we wouldn't find out? The manuscript trembled in my hands. Get out. This is my house too. Not anymore. I pulled out another paper from behind Henry's manuscript. I filed for divorce this afternoon. My lawyer will contact yours tomorrow. His face twisted. You'll regret this. Mom won't let you. Your mother can't stop me. I stepped closer, voice steady despite my shaking hands. And neither can you. He grabbed his jacket, stormed toward the door. You've made a huge mistake. By tomorrow, everyone will know what kind of person you really are. As the door slammed behind him, I sank to the floor, Henry's manuscript pressed against my chest like a shield. Tomorrow would bring war, but tonight, I allowed myself one moment of grief for the life I thought I had. The Parker family's annual charity gala wasn't where I planned to make my stand. But Carol's smug smile as she announced her plans for our family estate changed everything. I watched from the back of the ballroom as she detailed renovations for Henry's house, speaking as if it already belonged to her. And of course, Carol beamed at the crowd of local elites. We're thrilled to preserve the legacy of such a distinguished family member. That's when I stepped forward, Henry's manuscript in hand. Interesting choice of words, Carol. Especially given how you handled your first husband's legacy. The room went quiet. Nate, standing beside his mother, paled. Jessa, Carol's voice carried a warning. This isn't the time or place. Actually, it's perfect. I held up the manuscript. Henry documented everything. How you manipulated your way into your first marriage, systematically stripped that family of their assets. Then moved on to the Parkers when there was nothing left. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Carol's perfectly composed facade cracked. Those are lies, she hissed. Nate, control your wife. Not his wife anymore, I corrected. And not his to control. Never was. Nate stepped forward. You're making a scene. No, I'm making an announcement. I turned to address the room. Henry's manuscript will be published next month. All proceeds will go to establishing a foundation for victims of financial abuse and manipulation. Carol lunged for the manuscript, but Lindsay appeared between us. Stop, Mom. It's over. You knew about this? Carol's betrayal was palpable. I helped her, Lindsay's voice shook but held firm. Because I watched you do the same thing to Dad. And now to Jessa. Everything I did was for this family. Carol's composure shattered completely. No, I said quietly. Everything you did was for yourself. Henry saw it decades ago, and I see it now. Nate grabbed my arm. You can't do this to us. I pulled free. I already have. The estate transfer is complete, the divorce papers are filed, and Henry's story will be told. I met Carol's eyes. Your pattern of destroying families ends here. You'll regret this, Carol seethed. When you're alone. She's not alone, Lindsay interrupted, moving to stand beside me. Several other guests, including some I recognized as Carol's former in-laws, did the same. I placed Henry's manuscript on the podium. Your move, Carol. But remember, the truth has a way of outlasting lies. As I walked out, Lindsay beside me, the room erupted in chaos. But for the first time in months, my steps felt light. Henry's final gift wasn't just his estate, it was the courage to break free and the power to protect others from sharing my fate. 6 months after the gala, I stood in Henry's study, my study now, sorting through the last of his papers. The morning sun filtered through restored windows, warming the polished floors that no longer creaked. The house felt alive again, just like me. Lindsay appeared in the doorway, carrying coffee. She'd been staying in the guest room since leaving Carol's house, finding her own path to independence. Look what I found, she said, holding up an envelope. It was tucked behind that loose panel you mentioned. The paper felt delicate in my hands, Henry's familiar handwriting addressing it to the one who chose freedom. Read it, Lindsay urged, settling into the window seat. The letter was dated just weeks before his death. Dear Finder. If you're reading this, you've already chosen the harder path, the one that leads away from false comfort and toward true independence. I made the same choice years ago, watching Carol destroy my sister's family from within. My only regret was not speaking up sooner. But you, my dear, have done what I couldn't. You've broken the cycle. Remember this, family isn't about control or obligation. It's about choice. Choose wisely, choose freely, and never apologize for protecting your right to both. With pride and hope. Henry. My phone buzzed, a news alert about Carol. After the manuscript's publication and the subsequent investigations, she'd lost everything. Nate had finally moved out of her house, apparently working as a sales clerk in another state. Any regrets? Lindsay asked quietly. Through the window, I watched the Foundation's first scholarship recipient touring the gardens. She'd escaped her own financially abusive marriage, starting fresh with our help. No, I said, placing Henry's letter carefully in my desk. But I do have plans. The second manuscript? I nodded. Henry documented more than just Carol's story. There are others who need their stories told. Need any help? Lindsay's smile was knowing. I've got some stories of my own to add. The doorbell rang, more scholarship candidates arriving for interviews. As we headed downstairs, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. I looked different now, stronger, clearer, more myself than I'd been in years. You know, Lindsay said, pausing at the stairs, Mom always said this house would be her crowning achievement. I smiled, thinking of the women waiting below, each seeking their own path to freedom. It is an achievement, just not the one she planned. Henry's final letter had been right. Family is about choice. And sometimes, the family you choose, or choose to leave, makes all the difference. Opening the front door, I welcomed the next generation of survivors into what had become more than just a house. It was a testament to breaking free, to choosing yourself, to building something new from the ashes of what was lost.